Two VA payment increases have now been published. One is already in effect. The other begins October 1st, 2026. But I want to stop one misunderstanding before it costs somebody time. These are not increases to VA disability compensation, or DIC. They involve education benefits. The first changes the housing allowance under the post-9/11 GI Bill. The second raises the monthly rate under Chapter 35, also called Survivors and Dependents Educational Assistance. That distinction matters because the person who receives the money may be the veteran, a spouse, or a child. The amount may depend on a zip code, enrollment level, eligibility tier, and whether classes are taken in person or online. So do not ask only, did VA raise a payment? Ask three better questions. Which chapter are we talking about? Who in my household can use it? What must the school certify before VA sends a dollar? The first change took effect August 1st, 2026. VA now uses the 2026 military housing rates to calculate the monthly housing allowance for the post-9/11 GI Bill through July 31st, 2027. For in-person study in the United States, the starting point is the military housing allowance for an E5 with dependents. But that is not automatically your payment. VA adjusts it for your benefit tier, your rate of pursuit, and the location where you physically attend most classes. That is why two veterans attending different schools can receive very different housing payments even when both say they are full-time. Online-only study works differently. For people who started using the benefit on or after January 1st, 2018, the maximum online monthly housing allowance for this rate year is $1,261. Taking at least one qualifying class in person may open the door to the resident housing calculation instead. That one scheduling choice can change the household cash flow for an entire term. Picture two students using the same chapter. Both take 12 credits. One attends every class online. The other takes 11 credits online and one qualifying class on campus. Their tuition may look nearly identical. Their housing calculations may not. The second student may be paid from the resident rate tied to the physical location, while the first remains under the online maximum. That does not make the in-person schedule automatically better. Fuel, parking, disability access, and travel time still cost money. It means the family should compare the net result before registration, not discover the difference after the first deposit. Before enrolling, use VA's GI Bill comparison tool. Check the approved program, the estimated housing payment, and the school's recent history. Then ask the school certifying official how your exact schedule will be reported. A course catalog saying full-time is not enough. VA pays from what is certified. Dear friends, we have good news for you. You no longer need to watch 1,000 videos trying to find benefits that fit your life. At AbundantYears.com, we organize a personal list of 18 to 28 benefits based on your state, age, and situation. You can also find free checklists and request a private one-on-one conversation. We have already gathered the starting points in one place. Visit AbundantYears.com or use the link in the description. The second increase begins October 1st, 2026. Chapter 35 pays eligible spouses and children of certain veterans or service members while they pursue approved education or training. For full-time enrollment at a college or university, the new maximum is $1,621 for a full month. The 75% rate is $1,281. The 50% rate is $939. A partial month is prorated, so a term beginning late in the month will not produce a full monthly payment. Chapter 35 is not the post-9/11 GI Bill. VA generally sends the Chapter 35 payment to the eligible person. It does not automatically pay the full tuition bill separately. The family must compare the payment with tuition, fees, books, transportation, and the school's calendar. That is where the headline can mislead people. A $1,621 monthly rate does not mean $1,621 of extra spending money. If tuition and fees consume most of it, the economic gain is smaller. If the student uses a lower-cost approved program, another scholarship, or an employer benefit, more of the Chapter 35 payment may remain available for living costs. Eligibility usually begins with the veteran or service member meeting one of VA's listed conditions. One common path is a permanent and total service-connected disability. Other paths involve a service-connected death, death in the line of duty, certain missing or captured service circumstances, or treatment for a permanent and total disability when discharge is likely. Do not translate 100% into Chapter 35 without checking the decision letter. The words permanent and total matter. Look for language showing basic eligibility to dependents' educational assistance. If it is unclear, call VA Education Benefits at 888-442-4551 or ask an accredited representative to read the letter with you. The family member is the claimant for Chapter 35. That means each eligible spouse or child should confirm their own entitlement and dates. This is not one bucket of months that a veteran divides among 5 children in the same way transferred post-9/11 benefits may be divided. There is a second education question many veterans should ask before anyone spends an entitlement month. VA now tells some veterans with 2 or more qualifying periods of active duty that the Rudisill decision may allow up to 48 months of combined entitlement under the post-9/11 GY Bill in Montgomery, GI Bill active duty. That is not an automatic extra year for everyone. The service periods and program eligibility have to fit. But if you believed you were locked at 36 months, check your current VA education record before making a program election. One updated entitlement decision can be worth more than the annual rate increase in this headline. Age rules changed for some children. If a child became eligible, turned 18, or completed high school on or after August 1st, 2023, VA says the child may use the benefit at any age. Older eligibility paths can have different beginning and ending dates. Never assume one sibling's deadline applies to another. There is another trap involving DIC. VA says an eligible spouse may receive both DEA and DIC. A child receiving DIC generally must give up those DIC payments while using DEA. That is not a small administrative detail. Compare the 2 payment streams before making the election. Spouses also need to check the date that created eligibility. If the qualifying event happened before August 1st, 2023, a spouse may face a 10-year or 20-year use period depending on the facts. If the qualifying event happened on or after August 1st, 2023, VA says there is no time limit. The same household can therefore have an older child, younger child, and spouse with 3 different calendars. Write each person's date on a separate page. Do not use the veteran's award date as a universal deadline without confirming how VA applied it to that beneficiary. An eligible surviving spouse may also have to choose between Chapter 35 and the Frye Scholarship. VA warns that the choice cannot simply be switched later. Compare tuition coverage, housing, remaining entitlement, and the student's program before electing. That is a decision worth a direct call to VA, not a guess made from 2 monthly rates. Chapter 35 also covers more than a traditional 4-year college. Approved non-college degree programs, apprenticeships, and on-the-job training may qualify. The payment structure changes by program. For apprenticeships and on-the-job training beginning October 1st, the maximum starts at $1,029 per month for months 1 through 6 and steps down as training continues. The full amount generally requires at least 120 work hours in the month. The words approved program deserve their own check. A school can be legitimate and still have a specific program that VA has not approved for your benefit. A recruiter can say, the school accepts veterans, but that does not tell you how your certificate, apprenticeship, or branch campus will be certified. Search the exact school and program in VA's comparison tool. Save the result and ask the certifying official to confirm it in writing. If the answer is vague, pause before paying a deposit. Also ask what happens if the student withdraws. VA may create an overpayment when enrollment changes after certification. Mitigating circumstances can matter, but contact the school and VA as soon as the schedule changes. Silence can turn a difficult semester into a debt letter months later. Here is the household audit I would do this week. First, identify every unused education benefit in the family. Separate post-9/11 GI Bill entitlement, transferred entitlement, Chapter 35, and VR&E. They are different programs. Second, check the Veterans Decision Letter for permanent and total language and a Chapter 35 eligibility statement. Third, have each possible student verify eligibility directly with VA. Do not rely on a school recruiter to decide a federal benefit. Fourth, compare at least 3 approved programs by total cost, completion time, expected earnings, and the VA payment. A larger housing allowance does not rescue an expensive program with weak outcomes. Fifth, ask what happens during breaks, partial months, online-only terms, and course withdrawals. Those are the months when families often budget for money that does not arrive. Then make one simple term budget. Put tuition and fees on the first line, books and required equipment on the second, housing and transportation on the third. Put the expected VA payment beside each month, not as one annual total. September may be partial. December may end early. January may start late. A rate of $1,621 for a full month does not create 12 payments of $1,621 in a normal academic year. The best financial result is not always the school with the largest advertised benefit. It is the approved program that leads to a credible job, finishes on time, and leaves the household with the least uncovered cost. Call employers before enrollment and ask whether they hire graduates with that credential. VA approval tells you the benefit can be used. It does not promise the credential will produce a job. The next broad increase many veterans are waiting for is the annual cost of living adjustment affecting disability compensation and other payments tied to the Social Security COLA. That number has not been announced yet. Until it is official, anybody giving you an exact percentage is giving you an estimate, not a VA payment rate. VR&E subsistence rates are another separate update to watch. A veteran participating in Chapter 31 may receive the standard Chapter 31 subsistence allowance or, when the requirements are met and the veteran makes the election, a post-9/11 GI Bill subsistence rate. VA says the veteran generally needs at least 1 day of post-9/11 entitlement remaining and must be within the applicable eligibility period. The counselor can explain which rate applies. Do not assume that a new GI Bill housing table automatically changes every VR&E payment. That gives us 3 different calendars. August 1st for the post-9/11 rate year, October 1st for Chapter 35, and a separate published schedule for Chapter 31. When a video combines them into one VA raise, the headline becomes easier and the household decision becomes harder. Keep the chapters separate on paper. 2 increases are real today. Post-9/11 housing calculations changed August 1st. Chapter 35 rates change October 1st. Neither pays every veteran. Both can bring substantial money into an eligible household, but only when the correct person uses the correct chapter at an approved program and the enrollment is certified correctly. Open the decision letter, check the program in the GI Bill comparison tool. Then call the school certifying official before the first day of class. That is how a headline becomes money the family can actually plan around.